So the first game in the series between the Wallabies and Ireland is all done and dusted. Australia edging this one 18 points to 9. The closest of at least the first 3 games to seem like a real proper test match. Like the All Blacks ended up blowing away France, and the South Africans and the English just ended up being a helter-skelter points fest. But this one was a proper defensive orientated test, and yeah, I guess we learned a few things from the game, and there were a few interesting talking points. So I mean, it's just in terms of the game itself, good crowd, good weather, good start. Paenga Mosa, his first throw, not such a good start. So the new hooker on debut, a lot of pressure on him, perhaps a bit getting to him at the start of the game. Throughout the game, the lineouts weren't perfect for the Aussies. I think the stats ended up being around 80-something%, which is not too bad, but the ones where they technically won the ball back, sometimes it wasn't all that clean. So, I mean, I guess he'll get better as he goes on, if he gets another start next week. So, we'll see if he's kind of able to up that area of his game. The Aussies also seem to be under pretty clear instructions to, 1, hit Conor Murray, and 2, hit Joey Carberry, because it wasn't long before we had Korobedi smacking into Murray, followed by Beale onto Murray, and I don't know what Beale's having for breakfast, but he was more physical than he usually is in both kind of going forward and on defence. We had Hooper on Carberry, later on I think we had Coleman on Stockdale, but yeah, there were some big hits by the Aussie guys pretty early on, and it seemed to be a pretty set plan. The Irish, on the other hand, at the breakdown were doing really good work, so we had expected the Aussies to dominate that area with the pooper on the field. But yeah, it was the Irish guys really putting in some hard yards at the breakdown early on. Speaking of kind of hard yards, Stockdale's try-saver on Korobedi was pretty incredible. It seemed like it was going to be a try for the Aussies for all money, but that was kind of the story of the game. Both teams, and Dane Halapeti had one later on, where he saved one from CJ Stander by holding the ball up, just managing to get under him and not letting him force the ball down. Both sides really desperate just not to let the other team score. And that was, I mean, you can see 2 tries, Foley and Pocock was the story of this game. All the rest was off the boot. So, yeah, both teams really just desperate not to let the other teams score. A few handling errors, both teams guilty of that. Carberry was guilty of that, which was perhaps a little bit of pressure. But also, I mean, Carney did it as well, so I mean, he's a veteran, so I can't give too much kind of I guess negative criticism to Joey Carberry's way, because he was doing all right. He was subbed after 56 minutes, so probably a bit earlier than we might have thought, but I guess the coaches kind of wanted to change it up to try and get ahead. I mean, the lead changed in this game about 4 times, so although it was a pretty low scoring affair, it was really tit for tat, and no side really able to get on top until kind of towards the end of the game when Pocock got his try. The Wallabies did have a slight disadvantage at halftime in terms of the possession and territory, but they were ahead on the scoreboard 8 points to 6. So yeah, the Irish just edging ahead in those key areas, but yeah, not on the scoreboard. The Wallabies also had a try called back by the TMO. Ben Skeen, he's involved, I guess, would be kind of the key way to describe him. He's always busy. When you see he's the TMO, you know he's not just going to sit there throughout the whole game and not get into it at some point. I think he had 3 times in this game where he jumped in. He called a try back for some foul play, which was Coleman tackling a guy without the ball. I'm kind of torn on it because part of me says that didn't really have any effect on the game, and the game could just have gone on and it would have been fine. But also Coleman did flatten the guy. He didn't just kind of, you know, as a dummy runner kind of just make contact with him. He fully put him on the ground, and there seemed to be a little bit of handbags on the ground after that as well. So I kind of get it. It's just it's disappointing when you see kind of a free-flowing move in a game which didn't have that much attacking kind of opportunity be called back for something silly like that. So I mean, don't put yourself in that position, I guess, as the player, because Ben Skeen, if he can get involved, he will take that chance for sure. Pocock was pretty immense. I mean, his tackles, turnovers, especially in the second half. He got a try in a match where tries were not that kind of forthcoming. Big game. I mean, Foley got a try as well, which was more of a sideline to sideline try where they had pressure going down the right and then they just spun it wide as quickly as they could and it ended up on the other corner. So that was good use of the space from the Wallabies. But for the Irish, it was either handling errors or turnovers, or there was some key moment that just didn't quite go their way. As I said, held up. So unable to get any tries in this game. I mean, 9 points is the lowest they would have scored in a very long time. But I mean, they did dominate possession territory. Run meters were kind of similar, but in terms of turnovers conceded, Ireland had that number kind of well above what the Aussies had. So that was a key kind of area where they were, where it kind of cost them. The tackling rates for both teams. I mean, Ireland were at 87%, which is a massive success rate in terms of tackling percentage, but Australia were at 90%. It's incredible. It just doesn't really happen that much these days. So defence was definitely the story of the day. Penalties conceded 11 to Australia, 10 to Ireland, so nothing much in that. It was interesting to see David Pocock run and pick up his headgear every 5 minutes, because I don't know what is wrong. Get that man some new headgear, because it just kept falling off. 1 minute he had to literally run like 25 metres to go get the damn thing and then go back to have a scrum. So yeah, the guy needs a headgear sponsor, because he puts his head in kind of difficult places. He needs to protect that noggin. It was also interesting to watch the Wallabies scrum, because they would rotate their back three depending on what position they were in. When they had the ball, when they had to put in, usually it was Pocock at 8, with Timu at 6, and then Hooper at 7. But then on defence, they would sometimes put Pocock on the blind side or the open side. So the numbers on their backs weren't really meaning a lot. They were just kind of flicking it up situationally. So yeah, that was just an interesting thing to watch. You don't usually see that often as well. Overall, pretty good game. I mean, like I said, the lead changed a fair bit. It wasn't a real one-sided affair. Even though the scoreline wasn't that low, it was kind of what we expect from a test match in rugby. So yeah, it makes the next week's match more interesting to see who gets starts for Ireland for sure. See if they can get some tries, see how the defence goes, because in weeks leading up to this, some of the Aussie teams had been letting in points for fun, but suddenly the Wallabies managed to kind of get it all to click together. They did seem to have a read on some of the Irish attacking plays, so we'll see if they kind of vary it up next week. Anyway, what did you guys think of the game? Key players, key moments, TMO? Anyway, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.